Hey guys, and welcome back. In today's video we're heading back to Reddit once again, and this time we're looking at relationship advice. Let's get into it. Do I, female 20, break up with my boyfriend 20 male after 3 years? I've been with my boyfriend for 3 years. They've been the best years and we have a very happy relationship. However, over the last year the communication on his half has slipped and we've spoken about it countless times and it improves, but then goes back to the same situation again. Last night was sort of the final straw of feeling like I'm not being listened to. I'm so in love with him and I know he feels the same, but nothing is changing and it's making me feel unhappy. I don't know if I can continue being with him if I'm just going to feel unheard. That's hard because communication is such an important thing in a relationship. If you can't talk to each other, you know, it for me personally, it makes things harder. You obviously want to be able to communicate how you feel, you want to be able to communicate your thoughts, and you're concerned it's not going to be received well, or you're not going to have the same enthusiasm or the same level of conversation brought back to you. Now that is hard. I can understand how that would be. I mean, I would say in the first instance, if you need to decide if you want to try and salvage this relationship, if you want to try and make it work. You say you're madly in love with him, you say that you have a very happy relationship, but obviously there's this one thing that is causing you concern. The first thing I would say is it enough for you to go, I don't want to do this anymore, I've tried to talk to you? Or do you feel as though there's more to be explored? Is there something maybe he's not telling you? Maybe something's happening at work or something's happened, I don't know, that he doesn't feel comfortable talking about and therefore he's just kind of gone in on himself. That would be the first thing I would say, but I would definitely, before you make any decision, try and talk to him. Maybe this is really what he's like. Maybe it's just taken a few years to come out. Maybe he is just more of a shy, quiet type, doesn't really communicate very much. I don't know. It's hard without context in a way to answer this, because is it that he's not communicating about things that you want to talk about? Or if you try and engage him in something that you know he likes, maybe sports or anime, I don't know, TV, films, video games, what's his response like then? If it's the same across the board, then, like I said, it could just be him, there could be something on his mind. If he is more enthused about things that interest him, it could just be maybe he can't relate to what you're saying, maybe he doesn't know the right thing to say, maybe he just doesn't have anything to say and therefore doesn't say anything at all. I don't know. Like I said, it's really hard without context to kind of know the depth of conversation you've tried to have and the type of conversation. But let's see what the Reddit community has said. So the first one has said, have you asked him why he is no longer really communicating with you? Can he articulate that? What has changed? Exactly what I said. Because apparently you two are in the I need you to do X and he says okay and nothing happens. That's not communicating. You need to be able to say I need you to do X, and even though you agree it's a fair ask, you are either unwilling or unable to sustain a change. Let's talk about why that is so we can solve this. But OP has actually replied to this. We've had specific conversations where he acknowledges that he doesn't do enough, say enough, etc. Nothing has changed. It's more the case of he's very comfortable in the relationship, which is great, but it's too comfortable to the point where there is little effort now. He acknowledges and agrees with this, and things do change because he wants to be better, but they always end up exactly the same. The next one, we'll do one more comment because these are quite long and OP has, bless, replied to most of them. If you brought it up with him multiple times and it's only ended up coming back to how it used to be, I say that this communication problem won't change. However, I think you could ask him what issue he might potentially have in the relationship, as it may explain the change in his communication since the past year. If he doesn't have any, then I'd consider ending things. He may just be comfortable in the relationship and has started to put less effort in. Although it's a partial problem in itself, it can be solved through communication, I guess. I believe that a relationship is already done when one of the parties stopped putting effort in, so if there is no effort coming from his end in the long run, once again, is a relationship worth pursuing? I'm just a stranger, so don't take my advice to heart. I don't know what your whole situation is. I hope you'll then be okay whatever happens. So OP has replied saying he does still put in effort in terms of making time for me, seeing me, going on dates, etc. We are long distance most of the time due to university, so communication when we're apart has always been harder. The lack of effort is more in terms of not remembering things I've said or things that are important to me, etc. It's really hard to describe. 80% of the time is absolutely perfect, but I guess I'm just fed up of having the same conversations constantly to be met with no change. As horrible as it sounds, I think he knows I won't leave, so there's nothing forcing him to change. He needs a wake-up call, but I just don't want to break up with him just to get him to realise that. Okay, so a bit more context there, that you are actually long distance. He still makes effort in the sense of dates and seeing you, which is great. If you're at university though, and you're long distance, I think that's a big ask to say, you know, communication has dropped. You might, if you're in third year uni, maybe he's got a lot of work on. The circumstances are really going to dictate what happens, and it could be that after university end, things go back to where they were because there was no pressure anymore. Everything was relaxed and everything's calmed down a bit. So I would say, give it more time. You've said you're not going to break up with him anyway. The lack of effort, more in terms of not remembering things I've said or things are important to me, that's just life. I'm sorry, that's going to happen. I say things to my husband and I sometimes have to say them 2 or 3 times, and that's fine, because just because it's important to you doesn't mean it's important to them, and it doesn't have to be. It doesn't have to be the be all and end all for them and have to remember every single detail. If you remember every single thing that your boyfriend has said is important to him, I'm gonna be impressed. You're a scientific marvel and we should have you tested. To consider breaking up with someone because they are forgetful is just saying I'm not going to use this cup because it's yellow. There's no meaning behind it. I mean, yeah, I could go on about this, but having been in this situation where someone is forgetful and thinking that's a lack of effort, it isn't. If it's 80% perfect and 20% imperfect, that's probably about the right ratio. Yeah, I think you've got it good. I just think that maybe the change has thrown you slightly. Moving on. My 25 male girlfriend, 23 female, slept with someone else when we weren't talking and hid it. What now? Okay. I'll give both sides of the story because I want to be as unbiased as possible. I generally have decent emotional intelligence when it comes to situations like these, but I can't think my way through this one. Important backstory. My current girlfriend and I are long distance. I trust her and she trusts me, so we've managed to make things work. Last year I was still living with my ex-girlfriend after we broke up because we shared an apartment together. We were not sleeping in the same room and we were not sexually active in any way. I was seeing my current girlfriend, not dating, while still living with my ex-girlfriend. I felt like I was transparent about the whole situation, but she did not feel that way. I felt like she was being led on and lied to. Fast forward and she leaves for school. During this period my ex is moving out and I'm not officially dating my now girlfriend. We got on bad terms for a week due to a disagreement about the aforementioned transparency. During this time we did not talk for 5 days. Okay, so important here, you weren't dating. You were seeing her but you weren't dating. Okay, now to the present. I found out yesterday that she slept with someone else during the period in which we were not talking. She was under the impression that I was still sleeping with my ex, so she wanted to be petty and get back at me. This in itself is not crazy. We were not dating, so I don't have any right to say who she can and can't sleep with. However, after we started officially dating in December 2023, she did not disclose to me that the person she slept with is the same person she's been hanging out with almost every day for the past 6 months. Okay. Most of the time it was a group setting, but they were alone on multiple occasions. She swears that she did not cheat. But I feel lied to and disrespected, especially since everyone else in her friend group knew about this and I just look like a big clown dating this girl who hangs out with the guys she slept with. Additionally, she would tell me how he keeps hitting on her, flirting with her, buying her food, etc. I would laugh about it, not knowing the fact that he's already my girlfriend. I'm not super mad about the fact they slept together. Do I feel replaced? Yes, but we're adults. We weren't a couple. Poop happens. I'm super upset though that she didn't have the honesty and balls to tell me that and continued to hang out with him the entire semester. I'm at a crossroads about what I should do. I love and care about her very much. I've never found someone who I've had so much in common with and whom shares the same ideals, future as me, but call it dumb pride, but I feel like I'm letting myself be walked on if I continue the relationship. Right now she has lost all my trust and it would be difficult earning it back. Okay, that's a lot. So first, I respect that you were transparent with her about the fact you were living with your ex, but you were separate rooms, nothing happened, completely platonic, the relationship was over for you. I've been in that situation where I was living with my ex whilst I was seeing someone else, and again, nothing happened, because you have that respect for that person that actually you're not going to muddy the waters, and I have great respect for that. Now, on the flip side, I can understand maybe the concern that your girlfriend now but not your girlfriend then was having, because you're in a situation where you are sharing a household, a property, with someone who you've been intimate with for any length of time, and I reckon she probably felt insecure. For her to go out and, I don't say cheat, because obviously you weren't talking, you weren't actually official. For her to go and sleep with someone, that is, yes, it's petty. It is petty, we can't argue with that, because she obviously didn't believe you when you said nothing was going on. It wasn't needed for her to go sleep with someone, for one. Now, the bit that I completely understand where you're coming from is about the fact that the person she slept with is someone that she now is constantly in communication with, hanging out with, allowing him to buy her food, things like that. That's a little bit, to me, that's crossing a line. That's blurring the lines almost between what is actually okay as a friendship and what could be edging on more. If it was me, I would feel disrespected. This person was in my life who I'd gone and slept with, and they were a big part of my life. I would have just said, look, by the way, we weren't together, I slept with this person, but they're a friend to me, like it just was what it was, or whatever happened. But yeah, you have to be transparent. And so now I can imagine that you are now feeling how she felt, maybe slightly insecure, maybe a little bit confused about how to proceed. If you feel as though the trust has been breached and that you can't come back from this, that's one decision you have to make. If you feel there is something more going on you're not being told about, that's something else you need to decide. I don't think it's a matter of coming to Reddit and saying, what do I do? Because it's not really that straightforward. I think it's really going to depend on how you feel going forward. Do you feel comfortable? Do you feel as though if you said to her, please don't see this person on a one-on-one basis, that would drive a wedge between you? I'm not saying do that. I'm just giving you an example of things that I think people do say to other people. If you feel as though you're letting yourself be walked on, if you feel as though you can't trust this person, and if you feel as though the relationship has changed, then you need to decide if things can go back to the way they were. If they can't, for you, maybe walk away, find someone who you can trust to be honest with you about everything. But if you feel as though you can work on it, then by all means give that a go and see how you feel from there. Let's see what Reddit says. So the first comment, she was under the impression I was still sleeping with my ex. She wanted to be petty and get back at me. They've just said, personally, that's a huge red flag and a huge no from me, but everyone has different standards. Another one, yeah, dude, she thought she was getting back and you now realise she is a villain in her own story. Huge waving red flag that would purposefully sleep with a guy just to get even. Run, man, run. My issue wouldn't be her maintaining a relationship with an ex, although her accepting gifts from him and laughing about it is super gross. It's not disclosing the fact to you. She didn't give you the option of saying no to this situation. Plus that everyone else knew except you is disrespectful. Yeah, that is also true. Something I did forget to mention, like you say, everyone in your friendship group knew about this. Everyone, I would feel, was laughing behind my back and carrying around something that I should have known about. The red flag thing, yes, I do think that maybe this is a red flag. If you have an argument in the future, what's she gonna do? What lengths will she go to? The next one. Now, the next one is one that if you've watched one of my recent videos about when I got spiked, this one's going to be quite an interesting one to react to. But let's go. My 37 male friend, 29 female, left me when I was drunk and possibly spiked. She doesn't see this as a problem. So I went out for a drink with my friend to a bar. When it was closing, we met a man who we chatted to and he invited us back to his place. My friend and I agreed to go and have a couple of drinks there. I'd drunk about 5 drinks by this time, only beers, and outside the bar the man made some comments about whether I was interested in sex with him, and he also touched me on the backside. I told him no, I'm straight. My friend really wanted to go back to his place and I thought it would be fine to still go to the house. Also, my judgment was bad due to the drinks. This is when things get weird. Inside the house, the man brought out a packet of white powder. I don't use drugs, so I declined. That's really the last coherent thing I can remember. I got really sick really fast, cold sweats and just constant vomiting. I couldn't stand, and every time I tried to move, I would just vomit in the toilet. It was to the point where I was just severe heaving with nothing coming out. God, that sounds so painful as well, like where it makes you start to go raw, but you're just trying to heave. I remember my friend helped me out of the house and saying something about me being spiked. My friend did call an Uber for me, and I got inside and needed to leave it almost immediately because I could not stop vomiting. My friend by this point couldn't wait to leave, I think to go and try and meet some friends somewhere else for a house party, and by the time I was out of the Uber she was gone. I'm not sure how long it took me to get home, but at some point I stopped being sick in the street and organised an Uber. I can't remember anything about this part, just to note we live in a big city and this was in the early hours of the morning. The next morning the friend rang me and said she had tried to call me all night. I had no missed calls and my phone was on the whole time. She mentioned that she was considering coming out and looking for me. I don't believe her. Maybe I was emotional because of what happened, but I got pretty angry over text and called her selfish for just leaving me to get back home on my own, even though she called a taxi for me. She's accused me of overreacting. What should I do in this situation? For one, you're not overreacting. When you are spiked or drugged, you are not in a state of being able to make any decisions for yourself, to sometimes know where you are, to know what's going on, and in some cases have long periods of blackouts where anything could have happened. The fact that she mentioned, I think, that you might have been spiked and was okay just to let you go is a massive red flag and a massive warning for me that she is not someone you want to be around. If you've been spiked, it is terrifying. If you realise you've been spiked, it's terrifying. At any point after the fact, when it's happening, it's scary, because all of a sudden there's parts of your night that you don't know what happened, who touched you, who spoke to you, what did you say, where did you go, and it's scary. The fact that she was okay to be like, oh, you've been spiked, just go home, is not okay. You could have got home, fell asleep, choked on your own vomit and died. Not being dramatic, it could happen. She was not being a friend at that point. She was thinking, right, there's a house party, you're a problem, you need to go so I can go be free. That's what was going on. I don't think you overreacted. I think you're 100% right in what you said about them being selfish. And if it was me, if it was me now, it would depend. If this is something that someone's done or shown behaviour like before and you've been able to brush it under the carpet, then I would say, you know what, actually, this is one too many times, like, you need to back off, we cannot hang out anymore because you're dangerous for me. If it's the first time they've done something like this, I would still have my barriers up, my guards will definitely be up. For me, I would not hang out with them anymore, especially when there's alcohol involved. I would be very wary of any time we were out in public. And to be honest with you, the relationship has now probably changed. It's probably now never going to go back to the point where you can trust her to have your back if you have been drinking. I'm sorry that you got spiked. That's shit. It's not nice. It's scary and it's hard. But something could have happened to you. Now, on the video that I did, someone did comment saying it could have been so much worse. You just got spiked. Guys, there's no such thing as just being spiked. You got spiked. It's huge. Someone targeted you. Someone looked at you and said, either for sport or for nefarious reasons, we're gonna spike them. So the fact that your friend didn't have your back when you were in a scary situation, for me, having been through this, big no-no. You need to have people around you can trust, and for me, you can't trust this person as far as you can throw them. But let's see what Reddit says. Your friend was more concerned with partying than making sure you were safe. She acknowledged that you were drugged and still left you when you were vulnerable. She's not a friend, and you could have been attacked or died of an overdose and she would never have even known, nor apparently cared until the next day. You can't trust her to have your back, and I wouldn't feel comfortable partying with her again with her judgment. That is exactly what I've just said. 100% agree with that. I think as well, something else to consider is the person who was drugged was a male. Doesn't make it any less scary, doesn't make it any less serious what happened. So I really hope that there's not this whole, you're a man, you're fine, like I'm a vulnerable woman, if it was me I'd need help. No, like you're still vulnerable, you're still not aware of what's going on at that point. If something like that happened to my friend, I'd be dragging them out of the bar and barking and biting at anyone who tried to stop me from taking them home. If we go as a group, we stay as a group, no one left behind. Yeah, 100%. I couldn't imagine leaving a friend alone in that state and carrying on partying, male or female. She's not your friend, I'm sorry this happened to you. My family would say with friends like that you don't need enemies, she's a terrible friend, I'm sorry that happened to you. Yeah, 100%. She really did not have your back, and there's absolutely no way that you were of a priority to her at that point, unfortunately. And I'm really sorry that it's taken something so severe to realise this, but you need to exit out of that friendship for your own safety, or at least not drink around her anymore should something else happen. You need people around you can trust and who can support you for and through anything. Sorry if I went on about that one, guys, a little bit. It hits a nerve when I see things like that, so like I've said in my videos, I want to bring more awareness to it, that it happens to males and females, and I know some of you don't like that I talk about it, and I've had messages and things about it as well, but it's the truth, it happens, and more people need to talk about the fact that it happens and actually how scary it is. Anyway, moving on to the last one that we've got for today. Girlfriend 23 female entered my 25 male apartment without my permission. Okay, recently my girlfriend called me some nasty names, for example, gay, because I didn't answer my phone when she wanted me to pay for her nails. I spoke to her a couple of days later and told her that I wanted to end things. I blocked her on everything. She called me non-stop on different numbers. I wasn't home and she got a locksmith to enter my apartment, which I was pissed about. Decided to move on, and I can admit felt like a mistake considering the disrespect stuff that she said to me. I asked her for the new keys that the locksmith gave her. She only gave me one key, so I assumed that was the only key. Fast forward a week later, she wanted to stay at my apartment a bit longer than 3 days. I told her to go home because I needed space for myself. She went home. Following morning, she texted me saying that she wanted to come to my apartment to stay. I wasn't home and was far, and so I told her not to come. She texted me that she has an extra key from the locksmith and she was going to come regardless. I got home and she was inside without my permission. Honestly, I feel violated, and along with the repeated disrespect, it feels like it's time to end permanently and move on, though I think she might show up to my apartment and create a scene. What do you think? Okay, couple of thoughts on this. For one, you don't have to pay for anyone's nails. Like, that's not a job as a boyfriend, partner, husband, wife, girlfriend, anyone. You don't need to pay for the maintenance of your partner, unless it's something you like doing, just to get that out of the way. The fact she got a locksmith to enter your apartment, I would be really curious as to how she managed to wrangle that. I wonder if she said, oh, I've lost my keys, I've forgotten my keys and I need to get in. That's a concern, that she was that desperate to stay there, she got your locks changed. The third thing, and I don't know if this is just me being overly critical and skeptical, why didn't you get the locks changed again? There's no such thing, as far as I'm aware, as only being given one key. And even if there was, you can go down to a local store and get those keys duplicated. So my first thought would be, you've got in here once, I need to change the locks again. Maybe you need to think about getting a Ring doorbell camera or something to show when there's someone going in and there's someone there. Why does she want to come over so badly? Is she trying to get you back, maybe? She seems scary to me. She seems like extreme. And I do think you need to end it permanently. Maybe actually move flat, because if she knows where you live and she's going to keep turning up, that's not great. If you don't live there and someone else lives there and she breaks in, gets the locks changed, etc., then, you know, she's going to be in a lot of trouble. I'm not saying do that, but I'm not saying not. However, I do think that if she turns up to your apartment and causes a scene, would you not be like, well, I'll just call the police if you don't leave, because she's disturbing the peace or trying to break and enter or whatever? The fact she has a key probably stops you from being able to be like, she broke in, because she's got something to be able to get into the house. It's going to be very hard to prove that an ex-girlfriend doesn't have a key, you know? But I would just be like, if she turns up, call the police, maybe change your number. If you can, if you're in a position to, maybe move, so you really do get a fresh start. Because the last thing you want is to maybe come home from work and her be there, or have her breaking in, to have her change her locks, be seeing someone else, and then her causing issues for you. So yeah, I would definitely say, if she does turn up, just call the police. Not sure there's much more to say than that, but let's see what the comments have to say. Is she on the lease? Did the landlord allow the locksmith to change the locks? This is all sketchy and illegal. You can call the police and ask them to make her leave. I'm confused on why this is even happening. Exactly. OP, no, she's not on the lease. I don't even know how she convinced the locksmith that she lives in the apartment for them to change my lock and give her a key. My question exactly. Some of these are saying that what the locksmith did was actually illegal. I imagine this is in America, and that they're saying that you have to have ID to show that the house you're trying to get into is your address. Someone else has said on here, it's quite interesting, that they locked their keys inside their mum's house, but they had to have the police come out and with the locksmith to say it's okay to do this. Someone did actually put in really interesting things. Says, in hindsight, it's a good thing that she texted you. That info is proof. Landlord should definitely get the locks changed for you. Like, imagine what if she'd been an abusive partner or thief. The locksmith gave her direct access to you without your knowledge and could have put your life in danger. Someone else has actually suggested a restraining order. That's another option to go. But a lot of people, like myself, were concerned that the locksmith just changed the locks. It doesn't seem like that is legal or right. It's definitely not right at all. But yeah, there's something really dodgy going on here. So yeah, looking at the comments that are on Reddit, I would definitely say speak to the locksmith, find out exactly what happened, how it happened, tell them that they're in a bit of a tricky bind now because it shouldn't have happened. She had no legal right to be there. Speak to your landlord, find out from your landlord if he knew anything about it. Maybe she's spoken to him and was like, I'm going to be on the lease, like, get me a locksmith so I can change the locks because we've locked the keys inside. It could be that the landlord recognised the girlfriend and was like, oh no, she's here all the time, it's fine, like, this is legit. You need to kind of like do your due diligence and find out exactly how this occurred. Definitely do break up. Sorry, I am going to say it there because she is crazy. find out if you can get a restraining order, if maybe there is something you can do to make yourself feel a little bit better. But yeah, do try and move on if you can. And yeah, I'm sorry this is happening to you, but there's a huge red flag here. That's all we've got time for today, guys. Do let me know in the comments what you think about these stories, what advice you would give. If there's anything you don't agree with what I've said, anything you do agree with, do let me know. I'm always curious about your opinions. Have a great rest of your week, and we'll see you in the next one.